Food is a love language, and a bowl of homemade soup tops the list. This hearty recipe is just perfect for hunkering in on a cold night to fill your belly and settle your soul. Wow, that's a big delivery that we got to do here. So Suzy Robertson joins me in the kitchen to share her recipe for chicken wild rice soup. And you told our producer you made this for a girls' night recently, and people were like begging you for the recipe. So we're so excited.
When you have to share. When people just, they'll go after you for the recipe. It's time to share, yeah.
And so much of soup is kind of the prep and what you're going to put in first. You've already done a lot of the work for us, but we thought maybe a little tutorial on how to cut things the right way would be smart.
Let's do it. We did just start with a basic mirepoix, which is like your carrots, celery, and onions.
Wait, say that word again.
Mirepoix.
Spell it.
Miropoux.
I gotta look that up. Okay,
French.
Mirepoix.
Mirepoix. And so, like the basis of every soup, pretty much, right? So we've got those basics going, and then I threw in a couple of mushrooms. We're using baby bell mushrooms because they're so flavorful and
baby
yummy.
bell.
Yeah, baby bellas. So they're really yummy. So we've got those going, and those are just sauteing in a little bit of olive oil for right now. You can also use butter if you want, but if you're trying to go more vegan or vegetarian, you can use olive oil, so either one. But I was just gonna show you some fun tips on cutting a carrot. For safety, I like to cut my carrots in half, and then on these thicker parts when we want to make smaller cuts, I like to cut into the carrot and then put the flat sides down. So we always want to be safe, so when you cut it in half, you make sure your knife is secure, cut it down. So if you have little ones helping you in the kitchen, make sure you get those flat sides down. And then if they're still too big, just cut down through them again. And then these ones are smaller, and then you can go ahead and cut into your pieces. So
it just gives you a little stability so you're not wobbling around on your cutting board.
So there's our little cutting tip for the day. And then we're gonna throw in our fresh garlic. So we've got about 6 garlic cloves. Can't go wrong with a little bit of garlic.
Yes,
and I love fresh garlic. Some people like to use the chopped stuff from the store, which is not horrible in a soup. I don't mind that, but if you're doing like a pico de gallo or something and you're going to be eating fresh garlic, don't use that stuff.
Oh, okay, because that's
the
all I
flavor's
have.
just not that great. You want the fresh stuff. It really does change the flavor of things, but when it's cooked, not as much. So.
And you also said fresh rosemary in this.
Yes, so fresh rosemary is so easy to grow in the garden too. So this came from my garden, but it's super easy just to grab the stem and peel it right off. So you're just going to peel off the leaves. And not use the hard woodsy stems.
Okay, I
oh my gosh,
didn't
can
even know
you smell it already?
It's
so
yummy.
Delicious.
So you just peel it off that stem.
And then you're just gonna chop it fine, and we're gonna use about a tablespoon. And you can use dried, but if you use dried, you're gonna use half the amount. So if you think about it, it's, all the water evaporates out and it becomes hardened, so it's gonna be less. So just use half the amount if you're gonna use stuff from the pantry.
Okay, good to know.
So we're gonna add in that fresh rosemary. It smells so good.
It does. It smells delicious.
Okay, and then for a little bit of extra seasoning, we're just gonna add a little Mrs. Dash, about a tablespoon of Mrs. Dash. This is a garlic and herb, and I love this one because they already have a bunch of seasonings pre-mixed for you, and they don't have salt in them, so you can use your own good salts in those. So that, and now we're gonna get to the chicken broth.
Yes, because we talked about, are we using stock? Are we using bouillon? What do you say?
Okay, so here's the thing. It costs more money to buy pre-made broth, right? So some people would rather use like a bouillon. I prefer to use a bouillon powder, and I'll show you the one that I use, but I'm gonna use both here. But when you're buying a broth, you do wanna look at the ingredient labels. A lot of them have monosodium glutamate in it. They have MSG, and that's what we're trying to stay away from. So read your labels and make sure, like this one has sea salt in it too, which sea salt is a healthier salt. And it just has the chicken broth. And this one's also organic. So anything to do with chickens and animals, I try to tend to go organic because of the way they're raised. And then this is my favorite broth powder. And once again, it comes with, it's made with the sea salt. And so I love that. And it's just 2 teaspoons to 1 cup of water. And you just put that in. This is a really inexpensive way to get chicken broth, because when you're making a lot of soups in the winter, it gets expensive if you're buying those pre-done broths,
Yes, is cost really the only reason you prefer the powder? Or also just
kind
you feel
of,
like it's,
kind of, and
too.
this one's a decent flavor too,
Okay.
and it's less, look at the space difference. This is gonna make 56 cups of broth. Here's 4 cups of broth, right?
I agree.
So huge time saver, and space saver.
And a lot of times we add like some flour to thicken, but you say you're not doing that with this
We're not
one.
going to do that. We're going to make it gluten-free. At the holidays, we're always entertaining, right? And so there's a lot of gluten-free people out there. So now they can eat this. We're just going to add in some wild rice. So we're skipping it, and it's going to be more broth-based instead of like that thick, creamy based. So I pre-cooked this rice so that we could eat it today, but you can throw it in raw, and then dry, excuse me, and then it'll just cook for 45 minutes like this. So you'll basically just bring that to a boil and let it cook. But for sake of TV, I cooked it ahead of time.
Okay.
And if you can also use raw chicken and let that cook at the same time.
Oh, I've never done that.
I'm kind of cutting corners today because I do this a lot at home too, is I get the Costco rotisserie chicken that is already pre-cooked. So I love that too. And we can just throw that in and then add in our spinach, and then here's how to make it dairy-free. If you have dairy-free then instead of adding the 2 cups of milk, you can add 2 cups of nut milk. So it could be dairy-free and gluten-free if you wanted to.
And you always have these healthy meals, and you're having a fun event coming up. Tell us about it.
Yes, Mickey Eberhardt and I, she's a fellow Studio 5 contributor.
That's
we
right.
are putting together a healthy holiday meal prep, some classes that we're going to do over Zoom, so anybody can join. You can sign up on my website. There's a link on my website on Instagram, Suzy's Natural Health Movement, and we're going to do a freezer meal prep class. Get ready for the holidays to have those healthy freezer meals to throw out to get us through, and she's going to give us lots of tips on how to stay healthy.
That is so fun that you guys are doing that together, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are going to want to tune in, get those healthy meals. The time of the year when it's hardest to be healthy.
Yes, we're going to do it now before it hits.
Okay, thanks so much, Suzy.
You're welcome.